Andrea. She's my friend. We've been friends for a really long time. She and I met years ago when our daughters were playing soccer, and it was cold outside at practice, and she invited me to sit in her minivan, and we clicked, and we have been friends ever since. She is 39 years old. She has four children, and currently she's a stay-at-home mom. And in my interview with her, she basically said that the one thing that she takes for granted is the same thing that she's grateful for. And I think sometimes it's like an oxymoron. How can you be grateful for something and then take it for granted also? But she's going to share a little bit more about how it's actually possible and how she's learning to navigate through that.
My name's Andrea Alejo, and my age is 39, and currently I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Got it. All right. So, like, if you had to define gratitude, how would you define it?
For me, gratitude is being content and being happy and just thankful for that moment that you're living in,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that it may be, regardless of how successful or how non-successful it may be at the moment, but just being satisfied and grateful for it, thankful.
Okay. So, like now, you said being satisfied. Is there
Mm-hmm.
anything in your life that you take for granted that you can like think of?
I do. I think it's what I'm mostly grateful for. Uh, also, so I think what I mostly take for granted is the time that I have
Mm-hmm.
in general with everything and everyone, and those people that are here with me. I have to tend to remind myself, you know, I don't have all the time, and they're not always going to be here. So I think it's very similar.
Yeah, they can kind of go hand in hand. What you're
Mm-hmm.
what you're grateful for sometimes can be the same thing that you take for granted if you don't have like the
Yes.
right, perspective, especially if what you're grateful for gets on your nerves.
Exactly.
And then you just
They're the most challenging.
yeah, yeah, so that tends to
Yeah.
happen. All right. So like now with COVID and everything, there's a lot of like people dealing with hardships in life and I thought the devotion was fitting for this season. So, how do you typically respond to like hardships in your life, whether it's like relationship hardships or economic or like health issues? What is your initial response when something hard happens in your life or difficult?
Well, I think I can talk before COVID.
Hmm.
I can talk before COVID. My initial response to everything that was um, in any way negative, like financial or family, it was like total reaction of panic. It
Hmm.
wasn't even a response because I think I automatically just like panicked.
Hmm.
So I didn't give myself time to process anything. I think after COVID, things have been so different, with the time, with a lot of things that have happened in my life. I think um, that I saw so many things that I did the same thing, which was panic at the same time, and it just didn't work at
Hmm.
all.
Hmm.
And so now I think my way that I respond is just kind of I believe now it's so different because I can kind of sit and go through everything that's going on, and I can think of what's best for me to do at the moment and what's best for me to do in the next steps to come instead of just totally just panicking right away.
Hmm.
So I think my initial response, I guess the answer to the question is just to sit back and talk to myself, which
Hmm.
I don't think I ever did that. I talked to myself and then I talked to God. And just that very small change
Hmm.
has made everything so different.
So just being able to slow down. So
Yeah, just slow down instead of just panicking right
mhm,
away.
mhm. So growing up as a kid, do you recall being taught to be grateful?
I don't ever recall anybody teaching me gratitude. I remember being very ungrateful.
Mhm.
Um, I don't remember. I always remember being taught to say thank you and to be proper and to look a certain way or to
Mhm.
say certain things. But I never saw the genuine gratitude
Mhm.
being kind of taught to me. I think I learned that not even on purpose from my
Mhm.
father. My father is just he's just always okay with everything.
Mhm.
So if you give him a lot, he says thank you, and you can see that he's thankful. And if you give him a little bit, he's just as content with it.
Mm.
So I think I saw that with my dad. And no matter how financially okay we were, or how financially um, struggling we may have been, like even now looking back, because as a child you don't really see those things.
Mhm.
But he was always just the same. He never changed
Mhm.
his, how he treated anybody or how he treated us.
So he was very stable.
Yeah, but it was more like in a I don't know. I always see him as a very humble person.
Mhm.
So it wasn't just like emotionally he's stable, which he is, but he's just very okay with whatever he has. Like even like physical appearance,
Mhm.
even just everything. He accepts
Mhm.
whatever situation, and it could be because he struggled a lot as a child.
Mhm. So
He's just humble.
so so humility and gratitude. So it sounds like with your dad, do you think that him being humble and having humility had an impact on him being grateful, or having the lifestyle that showed that he was grateful, even though he may not have verbally communicated that, but just his lifestyle showed that he was just okay based on the fact that he was such a humble person?
Yeah, I think being humble helped him a lot.
Mhm.
I think being humble helped him so much to be grateful. So whatever it is that he may have gone through, I think helped him, with all his struggles. I have a sister who's mentally handicapped, and I think that helped him to, um, just to live through whatever stages they live through, and not have this mentality of self pity and anger and
Mhm.
um, which I think a lot of parents do.
Mhm.
And for him, it wasn't that way. So I think that helped him a lot. Like he didn't feel entitled to anything,
Mhm.
or he didn't feel self pity. I never felt that in him,
Mhm.
and I never got that response from anything, that I ever did, or I never felt anything that from. So he was a good role model for me um, for gratitude. Like I actually saw it live, not just telling me to be grateful.
Okay, so as a kid, sometimes, like you said, you saw your dad. You might not have heard him say anything or him taught you any lessons. If you could talk to the younger version of you, like to the kid version of you, what would you tell yourself about the importance of having gratitude?
Whew. Um, it's everything. I would tell myself that if I didn't grasp the gratitude part, and if I don't humble myself, I'm not going to be able to enjoy my life or really live it happily. I would tell myself to wake up
Mm-hmm.
and to see what I had in front of me, and to appreciate every single thing that I was handed, or every single thing, an opportunity that presented to me, because um, it wasn't there because I was something special. It was just a gift, and I
Mhm.
needed to see it as a gift
Mhm.
and understand that it wasn't something that I was entitled to.
Mhm. So you have that understanding now as an adult. You understand, why gratitude is important and how important it is to live your life. Um, do you find that it's hard to maintain it, to maintain
Absolutely.
gratitude?
Absolutely. Yeah, because it's I don't even think it's been that old in me. Like I know I have that humbleness in me from, growing up or whatever, I guess. And I thought I was really grateful. I don't think I was as grateful as I thought I initially was, but um it's really hard to maintain it because you I tend to go back to old ways, or I tend to forget. um I just tend to forget my time, and I forget that there isn't like forever. And so I think most of all, I think the hardest thing is, or why it's a challenge, is the time thing, the the gratitude over time. Like
Mhm.
I think for me, I think sometimes I think I always have tomorrow,
Mhm.
and so whatever opportunities, I always feel like sometimes I'm like, oh well, tomorrow. And so it's a challenge because then you're struggling. Which one are you going to pick? Are you going to pick devoting this time to your child, or devoting this time to this opportunity that you think, which is
Mhm.
whatever ideas or so yeah, it is a challenge, especially when you have a lot of things that you're trying to kind of juggle around. But
So
it's
being
more
able
mental, I think.
so being
Hmm.
able to prioritize what's important
Yes,
at the
there you go.
moment.
Yeah, yeah. And then sometimes, because we don't know what to prioritize, I tend to just be like, then I end up not doing either because because I'm like, you know. So yeah, it is a challenge, absolutely.
Do you think that having a devotional that's focusing on gratitude can help you kind of navigate your priorities, and even kind of keeping you in a position where you can better maintain it? Not, we're not going to be perfect at things, but we can always strive to be better at doing something. So, do you think that a devotional, with gratitude as the focal point, would be helpful?
Well, I think I actually started after COVID, and not too long ago. We started a devotional,
Mm-hmm.
and um, now that you mention it, it's it was something that I looked forward to because um, it set the tone,
Mm-hmm.
either regardless if it was at the morning or at night, but it set the tone, and it kind of keeps a certain maybe subject in your mind, or um, kind of like an urgency to pay attention to certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Because if not, then you just keep going on with the same things over again. So I think the devotional is really important to me. It's been whenever I have been doing a devotional, and if I do it every day,
Mm-hmm.
it's such a big difference and a big change in in my life, especially in relationships with God.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, especially even if it's regardless of what the devotional is, but even more importantly, I think gratitude, because I think we can think about a lot of things, and we can move forward with a lot of things, even like our marriage, or I've done a lot of devotional on like my kids, and a lot of different things. But I think with gratitude, I think it's really the most important thing, because if you're not grateful for God and the time you have to spend with Him,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's there's really no point in getting everything
Mm-hmm.
on point or getting everything right. If you're not if you don't have gratitude, having your children and having the ability to have the privilege to raise them and what the gift that they are, then what's the point on getting it right if you're
Mm-hmm.
not really going to be able to like enjoy it and love it for what it is.
Mhm.
And I think for everything, marriage and
Yeah.
time and
Yeah.
gifts, whatever.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Well, thanks for chatting with me this morning. I think when I think about this conversation, time is what I keep hearing you say. As it's important to be present and be in the moment and don't take the time that you have for granted, whether it's with God or with people that are in your lives, and being grateful for that moment because tomorrow is not promised. And so thanks for just dropping that seed about time because I appreciate that. It's always good to talk to someone and get another perspective on something that you may only see from a certain angle. So thank you so much, my friend Andrea.
Well, you're welcome, my friend Raquel.